Hello. Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to not only my YouTube channel, The Homesteading Healer, but also my podcast, Embodied Living with Christy. So if you're not new here, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. I'm uploading this on my channel and on my podcast, so I address both and say hello to both. I'm so happy you're here and so grateful, and I'm so excited and happy to talk about what I'm here to talk about today, and that is energy healing and density in animals and in our pets. I feel like this is something that not necessarily a lot of like energy workers or healers really dive into, or it's just not kind of a part of their own toolkit or what they're able to offer. So I feel like this is a little bit of not a new topic, but sort of a new topic in a sense that we're really going beyond, healing for humans. We're getting into healing for animals and pets. I had the pleasure yesterday of doing a pet session for a woman's cat who was named Irie, and some really amazing and crazy things came up during his session, and she emailed me afterwards and she said, spot on. And she explained, like, she kind of put the pieces together of the things that came up during his session, and that was really cool and really validating for me, because obviously animals can't talk to me in the same way that humans can talk to me. So it's always really cool when somebody's pet energy healing session, whatever you want to call it, resonates and makes sense. So I want to get into talking today about density in animals and in our pets, how that shows up and why that shows up, and just the energy of animals in general. I thought about taking notes today, but I decided against it because I personally feel like for me, the quote unquote conversation just flows a little bit easier if I just kind of go with the flow. But I also want to make sure there's nothing I forget to mention. So that's why sometimes I do take notes. Anyway, we're just going to go with it today. So let's talk a little bit about the vibration or the energy, the frequency of animals, because this is a very big part of my work that I do also with humans, in that I harness and I tap into the energy of animals in order to bring regulation or healing or balancing to the humans that I'm working with. So animals are super grounded within their own bodies and their own energy systems. So even think about wild animals. They are very cyclical. They know their rhythms. They have instincts. And with that, they become very, just as I said, grounded within themselves and grounded within their own energy. As a sidebar, here's the thing about animals too. Obviously, they don't have a conscious thinking mind like humans do. So all they have to go on is their instincts and knowing themselves and being so grounded within their own energy and within their own rhythms and their own cycles, and they're very sensitive to their own energy systems. So they're like super in tune with themselves and with their surroundings as well. And that includes the earth, not only their surroundings in terms of other animals and needing to find food and water, but also just the rhythms and the cycles of the earth. So that is the energy that I bring forth and that I tap into, and I'm kind of the middleman when it comes to working with humans. So I take that energy, that vibration of animals being very balanced and very grounded and very natural, and I infuse that into the humans that I work with. Now, taking this and coming strictly over to the animal side of things. Yes, animals, including our house pets, so our dogs, our cats, our rabbits, our whatever kind of house pet you're into, or like our farm animals, our horses, donkeys, cows, pigs, goats, whatever, barn cats, outside dogs, they are grounded within their energy, but that doesn't mean that imbalances and things don't show up within them. And here's where two different aspects kind of come into play, because we have one aspect of an animal or a pet experiencing like a physical trauma, and then we also have an aspect of our pets especially wanting to ease our pain. And so that's more of like an emotional kind of trauma, but not, I wouldn't necessarily use the word trauma, but imbalance that starts to develop within them. So first, let's take the physical trauma. How this works with animals. Similar to how it works with humans, but just humans experience trauma in a different way because we have the thinking mind where we can go back and like think about it and remember it. Animals, what happens with them is they will experience a physical trauma. So whatever that might be, being abused or being, hit by a car or whatever, a wild animal getting shot in the leg, but, not dying. So that's a physical trauma. So the physical trauma will happen. And then what the deeper layer or the kind of next thing that happens is the fear, the emotions, the energy from that trauma. As they're experiencing the physical trauma, all of that comes up within their body, and then it becomes locked in to their body. So then once the physical trauma passes, or the threat or whatever it is goes away and is over, the energy from that remains in their body. So that's where things can then start to break down eventually physically. So for example, the session that I did yesterday for Irie, the cat, it had come up for him that he had experienced some sort of physical trauma, whether it was recently or a while ago, and it had the fear, and for him it was like the startledness of it, like the being startled. It became locked within his body, and it was throughout his entire body. So it's like, when you get startled or someone scares you and your entire body just does this, like, it just gets into this state of like adrenaline and being startled. That's what it was for him. It was his entire body. And so his energy couldn't move through his body. It was, but just at a very, very slow pace. So for him, it was, she said it was something like he had got a door shut on him or something like that. So the trauma happened, the energy, the fear, the being startled got locked within his body. The trauma passed, right? The time passed where that trauma was no longer present, but the energy of it was present within his body. And then as time went on, the emotional and the energetic trauma started to trickle through his energetic body, mental body, emotional body, down into the physical body, where then things will possibly start to show up in the physical. Okay? So that's how that part of that works. Sometimes things will start to show up physically. Sometimes they won't show up physically, or sometimes something could show up years later physically from a trauma that happened, right, 5, 10, 15 years ago. So we have that aspect of things. Now, the other aspect of things